Welcome to Athenaze, Chapter 3 Alpha, O Arotos Alpha. This is the story discussion and grammatical lesson. As always, I assume that you have read the story in the chapter and are ready to discuss it in Greek. You will have to use your play and pause buttons frequently at first, as I will be speaking the questions and answers rather quickly. Try to understand the meaning of what I say before I reveal the text. I will say each question twice, the second time with the text, and I will use the same process for the answers. You will have to work through this section many times before you will be able to understand it at speed, but that is the goal. The goal is for you to be able to ask and answer these questions on your own. On to the story discussion. Poso Dikeopolis poni. Poso Dikeopolis poni. O Dikeopolis alavnitus vus. O Dikeopolis alavnitus vus. Pos there uvoes ponusin. Pos there uvoes ponusin. Uvoes elkusi to arotron. Uvoes elkusi to arotron. Pos there o xanthias poni. Pos there o xanthias poni. Oxanthia spirito sperma. Oxanthia spirito sperma. Ti leo Dikeopolis ote uvoes ukelkusi to arotron. Ti leo Dikeopolis ote uvoes ukelkusi to arotron. Spevdete ovoes me menete. Spevdete ovoes me menete. Ara nun uvoes venusi? Ara nun uvoes venusi? Uvoes eti menusin. Uvoes eti menusin. Ti leo Dikeopolis. Ti leo Dikeopolis. Ti menete ovoes. Ti menete ovoes. Ti uvoes menusin. Ti uvoes menusin. Olithos embodisi to arotron. Olithos embodisi to arotron. Arre o Dikeopolis eri ton lithon? Arre o Dikeopolis eri ton lithon? Ti ukeri. Ti ukeri. Ogar lithos estin megas. Ogar lithos estin megas. Ude voes sulam vanusin? Ude voes sulam vanusin? Tis kalio Dikeopolis. Tis kalio Dikeopolis. Kali tondulon. Kali tondulon. Arun xanthias proshori ke sulamvani? Arun xanthias proshori ke sulamvani? Oxanthias vradeos proshori al sulamvani. Oxanthias vradeos proshori al sulamvani. Ti leo xanthias. Ti leo xanthias. Udunatones din erin ton lithon. Udunatones din erin ton lithon. Ti leo Dikeopolis. Ti leo Dikeopolis. Me argosisti alla sulamvane. Me argosisti alla sulamvane. Pos dunatones din erin ton lithon. Pos dunatones din erin ton lithon. Iama ote despotes ke odulos erusin ton lithon. Iama ote despotes ke odulos erusin ton lithon. Ar odulos feri ton lithon? Ar odulos feri ton lithon? Ne, alla katavali afton. Ne, alla katavali afton. Pupipti olithos. Pupipti olithos. Olithos pipti proston tu Dikeopolithos poda. Olithos pipti proston tu Dikeopolithos poda. Ar o despotes heri? Ar o despotes heri? Alla Athenaze. Alla Athenaze. Ti leo Dikeopolis. Ti leo Dikeopolis. O Zef, fev tu pados. O Zeph, fev tu pados. Arodhulos lei, skeosimi ke etiosimi ego. Arodhulos lei, skeosimi ke etiosimi ego. Lei, donatones tin ton lithon ferin. Lei, donatones tin ton lithon ferin. Dietid lei, etiosimi ego, ke donatones tin ferin ton lithon. Megas garestin olithos. Megas garestin olithos. Ti leo Diciopolis. Ti leo Diciopolis. Me fluari o mastia, al ere ton lithon. Me fluari o mastia, al ere ton lithon. Ara nun dunatones tin afton ferin? Ara nun dunatones tin afton ferin? Ne, erusin ton lithon. Ne, erusi ton lithon. Puferusin afton. Puferusin afton. Ekferusin molis afton ek tu agru. Ekferusin molis afton ek tu agru. Ara nun dunatones tin alavnin tus vus? Ara nun dunatones tin alavnin tus vus? Ne, udhe voes uketi menusin, al elkusi toarotron. Ne, udhe voes uketi menusin, al elkusi toarotron. The chapter material contained in this section is a word study and then a grammatical lesson. On to the word study. Number 1, what does lithograph mean? Well, to answer that question, we should also ask, what does grapho mean? Grapho means I write or draw, and olithos is a stone. So a lithograph is an artwork produced from a drawing on stone. Number 2, what is a monolith? And to answer that, we need to ask, what does monos mean? Monos is alone or only, and then lithos, as before, is a stone. So a monolith is the archaeological term for a single stone as opposed to a circle of stones. Now it is used metaphorically. Number 3, what does megalithic mean? We can see that it's formed from two parts, megas and olithos. So large stones, or built of large stones like Stonehenge. Number 4, what is a megaphone? Again, coming from megas, and this time a phone, a voice. So this would be a great voice, or a great large sound. Now on to the grammatical lesson, where we will focus on verb forms, specifically the third person plural, then the imperatives, and then the infinitives. In Chapter 2, you learn the first and second and third person singular indicative forms of three roots, the noble root, luo, the contract root, phileo, and the athematic root, imi. Now we're going to look at these three roots with a third person plural ending. They accomplish something. We can see the actual third person plural ending alone in the athematic row. Remember, for athematic roots, there is no stem, so we just have root, s, and then ending, nsi. Now, through a series of stem contractions, we got usi for the thematic roots. So let's take a look at the noble root lu. The stem and ending is usi, so together that would create lusi. Try to pronounce the ypsilon there with the e, almost e sound, and then the digraph omicron ypsilon as u. Lucy, Lucy. They loose. Now let's take a look at the contract root filet and what happens when it combines with the stem and ending usi. In an uncontracted form, the final epsilon would be accented. The iota, being the ultima, is short, so we can move back 3 spaces, and that would leave us on the epsilon as antepenult. But in biblical times, they contracted the root ending vowel, epsilon, with the stem, and the accent remained in that same area, but now on the penult. we mark that originally accented antepenult, now a penult, with a circumflex. This yields filusi. So just by accenting, we can tell which words are noble roots and which words are contract roots. Liusi has an accent on its antepenult, and filusi has a circumflex on its penult, showing a contraction. So now let's look at the athematic root types. In this situation, we're going to look at S as our root. It does not have a stem, so we see the original ending, nsi. But this creates a problem, since Greeks would not place a sigma next to nu, and here we have a sigma on either side of it. To eliminate that difficulty, they simply removed the first sigma and nu, and when they take out letters, they have to compensate, and they generally do this by lengthening the root. So the root became epsilon iota, and then we are only left with sigma iota for our ending, yielding EC. Just a word of encouragement, most athematic roots are not this complicated. We are simply learning the forms of to be, since that verb is so common. If you don't remember all these rules of contraction, it's okay. Simply remember that regular verbs have usi as their stem and ending, and that contract verbs have that same stem and ending, but have a circumflex over their penult, usi. Then you will simply have to memorize the athematic forms of the to be verb. EC would be they are. Take note that when you have more than one subject, a plural subject, and it doesn't include you or I, you must use one of these usi endings, or in the case of to be, EC. Now on to imperative plural forms. In Chapter 2, you learn the singular forms of the imperative mood. For example, lue, fili, isti. Here you're commanding one person to loose, to love, or to be. Now let's take a look at the plural imperative endings. And by the way, these will be the same for the indicative, so you're really learning 2 for 1 here. As we noted in the indicative, we can find the true ending in the athematic form. Te is the true ending. Our stem is simply epsilon, so where we have thematic roots, the noble and contract root, we see that our stem plus the ending is ete for the noble root, ete for the contract root, but only te for the athematic root, since it doesn't have that epsilon stem. Then when we combine the stem and endings to our roots, we get luete. This is the plural form, so this is a command to more than one person to release. Luete, release. Y'all, release that person. Filite. Notice the accent shift for contract verbs. This happened in the indicative as well. The root epsilon combined with the stem epsilon and lengthened to epsilon iota. Ite. And we mark that original accented antepenult, now penult with a circumflex. Filite. For the athematic verb to be, it's quite an easy combination. The root s can combine with the ending te with no irregular contraction, and we get este. Y'all be a certain way. Now on to the infinitive, and we are only going to learn one infinitive form. There are 5 total, so we're learning 1/5 of the infinitive forms. The present active. And by present, we're not talking about a time, we're talking about an aspect. So this is the ongoing infinitive. And we will use infinitives most frequently in this text initially to complete other verbs. There are a number of words like it is necessary to do something, or I want to do something, I plan to do something. So there, where we have a verb that requires an infinitival complement, that's the construction where we're going to use infinitives. Our stem and ending is pretty easy. Together there's some contraction to create een for the typical roots where we have a stem. So the noble root would be luin. The contract root would contract again, showing the original accented antepenult, now penult, filin. And in the athematic form, we see the original infinitive ending, ne. The root sigma cannot remain next to that infinitive ending, and so drops out, and the root vowel lengthens to yield ine, which is to be. Luin, to loose, Philin, to love, ine, to be. Now on to the exercises of this chapter. The first exercise is 3 alpha, and we're to identify the functions of all the nouns and verbs in the sentence, and then translate it. Now I think this is a very important exercise, and I will focus on the functions of the words in this sentence and translate as little as possible so you can work on simply understanding each sentence without translating, but understanding it as Greek. Number 1. Uvoes uketi elkusito arotron. Feel free to pause and start again to work on your pronunciation. I think it's a great exercise to repeat the sentences until you can say them at speed with me. So one more time. Uvoes uketi elkusito arotron. The first words there, uvoes, those are nominative forms. It's plural, I can tell by the article, and I can tell the case by the article. So this is our subject, plural subject. Uketi is an adverb, no longer. Elkusi is our main verb here, elkusi, and that's our new ending, usi, so they do something. Elko is I drag, so they drag. That's a transitive verb. I know that not only from the meaning, but also because there is an object there, toarotron. Only transitive verbs will have objects. Number 2. Ote dikiopolis ke odoulos pros horusi ke vlepusi pros toarotron. I notice from my articles, o te dikiopolis and o doulos, those are my subjects, those are nominative forms, o, and then I can also see doulos has a nominative ending. So I have a plural subject, dikiopolis and odoulos. And they, pros horusi, there's our new ending, usi, so that's our verb. It's third person plural matching our subjects. Can you guess whether this is a transitive verb or an intransitive verb? It does not have an object, so it's an intransitive verb. And they vlepusi, another intransitive verb, it's followed by a prepositional phrase. They look for pros toarotron. Number 3. O dikeopolis, idou fesin, lithos megas toarotron embodisi. So our subject here, we can tell by the article again, o dikeopolis. So he's our subject, and he's the subject of the verb fesin. Then within the quotes, we have him speaking in imperative, idou, look. And then a second clause, lithos megas toarotron embodisi. Our verb there, embodisi, is third person singular. I can tell that by the ending, e, and it is a transitive verb. There, something obstructs something else. So our subject, the thing that is obstructing, is the nominative, lithos megas, and then the thing that is being obstructed, the object of the verb, is toarotron. Number 4. Ere ton lithon, ke ekferet ektu agru. Here we have imperatives. I can tell that by the ending, ere, the epsilon, single epsilon, some had said imperative. He is, probably dikiopolis is commanding the slave to lift something, and that's a transitive verb. It has an object, ton, in the accusative. So lift the rock, and ekfere, take it. There's an implied object there, carry it out. So that still is a transitive verb, followed by a prepositional phrase, ektu agru, out of the agru. Number 5. O the doulos, idou fesin, megas estino lithos, udunaton estin erin ofton. Here we have a change in subject. That is why we have the following the article. Starting with our nominative subject again, I can see that right from our article, o, and then our nominative ending, os, on doulos. That is the subject of the verb fesin, so the slave says, idou, look. And we have a new clause here, megas estino lithos. Our verb there is estin. What type of verb is that? It's not a transitive verb or an intransitive verb. They have a special category for this. It is a linking verb. We have our subject, we can see that with the article, o lithos, our linking verb, the rock is, and then we have our complement, megas. In the next clause, we have another linking verb, estin, udunaton estin. It is not possible, infinitive now, erin, to lift ofton, it. Notice that the ofton is masculine accusative here, not neuter, and that is because we are talking about the masculine olithos. Number 6. Ote o Dikeopolis ke o doulos ton lithon erusin ke ekferusin ek tu agru. When we have a pair of things, we always have te and ke connecting them. We know that they are our subject again, o Dikeopolis, and o doulos, it's compound subject, so we're going to have plural verbs, sure enough, in erusi and ekferusin. Those are our transitive verbs. Again, we've seen them before. You lift something, in this case the accusative ton lithon, and you carry it out of the prepositional phrase ek tu agru. Number 7. Me minete o voes, ala spevdete. Our first clause here, me minete, is an imperative. Plural ending. Is this a transitive verb or an intransitive verb? There is no object, so it is an intransitive verb. Do not remain. He's calling out to the oxen. But spevdete. Again, no object, so intransitive verb. Number 8. Uvoes uketi menusin ala toarotron aftis elkusin. Our subject there, uvoes, that is a nominative plural form, and so the verb form will be plural as well, menusin. As we have just noted, menusin is an intransitive verb. It does not take an object, so the voes no longer menusin, but they elkusin, an object. So elkusin is going to be a transitive verb, and the object is toarotron, and then aftis is an adverb again. On to the most difficult exercise in this lesson, and it is the most important. This truly tells you what you know and what you don't know. So don't just follow along and acknowledge how I translate these sentences, but stop this recording and try translating all of these sentences on your own, work through them, spend a good amount of time on them, and then check your answers with me. Number 1, the oxen are sleeping in the field. Our subject there is the oxen, so we want nominative forms for that. Uvoes. Our transitive verb, are sleeping. Kathevdusin. And then in the field, into agro. In is always followed by a dative. Number 2, come here, those are imperatives, and drive out, another imperative, and it says use exhalavno, the oxen. And we're talking to slaves here, so o dulu. So we have a plural subject, so our imperatives are going to be plural. Come here in the singular would be elthe devro, but in the plural it's elthete devro. And again, our plural ending ete exalavnete, the accusative, the object, tus vus, odulu. Number 3, they take the goad, or to use to kindron. Notice how I pronounce that drone, because the toph is preceded by a nasal. That happens every time toph is preceded by a nasal. It's voiced. To kindron, and slowly approach the oxen. Tus vusi. So they take the goad. They take. We're going to need our plural ending, right? Usi. So to kindron lamvanusi. And slowly approach. Ke vradeos pros horusi. Approach to the tus vusi. Number 4, another imperative. Hurry, ox. We're calling out to the oxen, plural subject here. Don't sleep in the field. Spevdete o voes, me kathevdete into agro. Number 5, it is not possible to drive out and use exalavno, the oxen, and they're going to be, remember the accusative, tus vus, for they are strong. They are, that's our linking verb. All right, so let's take it from the top. It is not possible to drive out. Udunatonestin, it is not possible. Udunatonestin. Remember, SD is an enclitic, and so it's leaning on dunaton for its accent. Dunaton then does not need to change to a grav. Udunatonesti tus vus exalavnin. Exalavnin is our infinitive there. It is not possible to exalavnin, to drive out, tus vus. Then we're to start the clause with ishuru garisin. Notice that isin is a linking verb, and that is why the complement ishuru needs to be in the nominative as well. They are strong. We are not starting the clause with isin because it is an enclitic and likes to follow other words. Well, that's it for this chapter. Good work. Remember to review all of this material many times until you are so comfortable that you can talk about the content of this chapter in Greek. The story discussion questions should help you do that. Once you are thinking and working with this chapter in Greek, you're ready to move on to the next one.